Before we enter the realm where time has stood still, take a quick second to like and subscribe only for those who enjoy this kind of immersion, of course. And if you don't mind, leave a comment below telling me where you're following us from. And your thoughts. It makes us happy. Now, dim the lights, maybe get your place ready for travel, and let's relax as we dive into tonight's adventure together. Have you ever heard true silence? I mean, real silence. Not just the absence of noise, but a sound all its own. A deep, humming quiet that feels ancient. In our world, of course, we've mostly lost it. We've traded it for the perpetual glow of screens and the constant, undifferentiated buzz of the city. We have forgotten the texture of true darkness, the kind that allows the cosmos to reveal itself. But what if you could step back into that? Quiet? What if you could walk a path lit not by streetlights, but by a river of stars so thick it looks like spilled milk across the sky? What if you could hear the soft, rhythmic tread of camels on sand, a sound that has echoed through these landscapes for millennia? What if you could listen to stories that were once worth more than gold, whispered in the flickering light of a dung fire? This is a journey back to a time when the world was still vast and full of mystery, a time when the connections between civilizations were forged not by fiber optic cables, but by footsteps in the sand. Our journey begins where so many did, at the edge of the known world, as the sun bleeds its last color over the horizon. We are at the fringe of an oasis, a splash of defiant green clinging to the edge of an ochre emptiness. The day's crushing. Heat, an oppressive weight that saps the will and stills all movement, finally gives way to a creeping chill. The desert exhales, and the sudden drop in temperature is a quick, sharp reminder that this is a place of violent extremes. And this is when the caravan truly comes alive. You see, traveling by day in the heart of the Taklamakan Desert, whose name, the locals say, means you can get into it, but you can't get out, is not just asking for trouble. It's a death wish. The sun is a merciless tyrant here, capable of killing a man in hours. So you travel at night. You surrender to the darkness and trust in the stars and the collective wisdom of those who walk with you. My call to adventure wasn't some grand announcement or a royal decree. It was a quiet invitation, a gesture as subtle as the shifting sands. An old man, the caravan master, a Sogdian merchant with eyes that looked like ancient, well-traveled maps, just nodded toward the rising moon. His name was Rashan, and his face was a geography all its own, carved with the lines of 1,000 journeys between the empires of the East and West. The Sogdians were the undisputed masters of this world. Their homeland, Sogdiana, was a collection of oasis city-states strategically placed at the heart of these trade routes. Though never a single, unified empire, their influence was immense. Their language, an Eastern Iranian tongue, was the lingua franca of the Silk Road, the common speech that allowed a merchant from Byzantium to haggle with a trader from China. One historian aptly called them cultural bees, and it's profoundly true. They didn't just spread goods. They were pollinators of culture, carrying ideas, religions, art, and stories from one civilization to another, fundamentally weaving the fabric of the old world. This caravan is my guide, my only protection out here. It is a moving city, a slow-crawling beast of 200 Bactrian camels, their double humps swaying in a hypnotic rhythm. They are loaded with a king's ransom in goods. There are bolts of luminous Chinese silks, so tightly woven they feel, like water flowing through your hands, destined for the villas of Roman senators. There are heavy chests filled with the glitter of Roman glass, a marvel of technology that will be treasured in the courts of Chinese officials. Fragrant spices from India and the islands of the sea, cinnamon, cloves, and pepper, their scent a sharp, exotic perfume in the dry desert air, promise to transform the bland cuisines of the West. We are a self-contained society, We have grim-faced guards, veterans of 100 skirmishes, their hands never far from the hilts of their swords. We have interpreters, masters of a dozen languages, who bridge the gaps between cultures. We have cooks who can conjure a nourishing meal from dried meat and coarse flour over a tiny fire. We have families who know no other life than this constant swaying motion. There's a palpable tension in the air, a shared, unspoken understanding of what's at stake. Every shadow cast by a dune could hide a wolf, a scorpion, or worse, the two-legged predators, the bandits who prey on the lonely stretches between towns. A large caravan like this, with its own armed escort, is the only real insurance policy. There's safety in numbers, but there's also the constant friction of personalities, the ever-present risk of sickness, and the simple, grating reality of living cheek by jowl with strangers for months on end. As the last sliver of light fades to a deep, velvety indigo, the signal is given. It's not a shout, but a low, mournful blast from a horn, a sound the sand seems to swallow the moment it's born. The camels, who have been resting and chewing their cud with an air of supreme indifference, groan in protest, a chorus of guttural complaints as they are brought to their feet. The soft clinking of harnesses, the rustle of packed goods, the murmur of a dozen languages, Persian, Sogdian, Turkic, Chinese, it all blends into a single hum of purpose. We're moving. We're leaving the last familiar orange glow of the oasis behind and stepping into the profound, star-dusted dark. The journey has truly begun. The first few hours of the march are a kind of waking meditation. The world shrinks to the swaying back of the camel in front of you and the jaw-dropping, almost terrifying canopy of stars above. Out here, with no light pollution to wash out the sky, the darkness isn't black. It's alive. It's a glittering, teeming dome of light. The Milky Way isn't a faint smudge. It's a thick, shimmering river that seems to pour across the heavens, a celestial mirror to our own sandy path below. The experienced navigators, men like Roshan, don't need a compass. They read the stars like a grand celestial map. One night, as we walk, he points with a gnarled finger, tracing the patterns for me. That one, the familiar shape of the Big Dipper, helps them find Polaris, the North Star, their unmoving anchor in this vast, featureless emptiness. But he knows so much more. He shows me how to use the rising and setting of other stars to keep a true course, a natural compass that has guided travelers for millennia. He tells me the stars aren't just lights. They're characters and stories, told for generations around campfires, just like the ones we will soon build. They tell of heroes and demons, of gods and mischievous spirits. He talks about Algol, the demon star, whose strange periodic twinkling is said to be the blinking eye of a ghoul. He points out Orion, the great hunter, striding across the winter. Sky, a figure recognized in cultures from Persia to Greece. These stories aren't just entertainment. They are mnemonic devices, ways to remember the crucial patterns that keep a caravan from wandering into oblivion. As the moon climbs higher, we settle into the grueling routine of the march. This is the road of trials, the long, slow, arduous middle of our journey. It's a relentless test of physical and mental endurance, a crucible that breaks the weak and forges the strong. Yet, it's punctuated by moments of unexpected beauty and quiet human connection that make it bearable. One night, we make camp in the protective lee of a colossal sand dune, its crest a sharp knife edge against the starlight. The camels are arranged in a large living circle, their warm bodies forming a wall against the ceaseless wind and whatever else the night holds. Inside this circle, small fires bloom like desert flowers, little pockets of warmth and light. The air, once clean and cold, fills with the delicious smells of roasting flatbread, of cumin and coriander from a bubbling stew, and the rich, earthy, not unpleasant smell of the camels themselves. I sit with a group of merchants around a fire, and its comforting warmth coaxes out their stories. One man, a Persian from near Tabriz named Farhad, is holding delicate, paper-thin porcelain bowls. He taps one gently with his knuckle, and it rings with a clear, high note like a tiny bell. He speaks not of profits or markets, but of the city of Jingdezhen, a place he's never seen, where thousands of artisans, their skills passed down through generations, create these objects of impossible delicacy. He describes kilns burning so hot they could melt stone, all to achieve that perfect, translucent white. He doesn't just respect the bowl as a commodity. He reveres it, feeling the weight of the unseen hands that shaped it. Another man, a Buddhist monk from the oasis kingdom of Khotan, shares a different kind of treasure. He isn't carrying goods for trade, just a small, precious, leather-bound bundle of scrolls. He carefully unrolls one, its paper so fine it's almost see-through. It's a sutra, a sacred text containing the words of the Buddha. He explains that paper, another revolutionary Chinese invention, carries something far more precious than silk: wisdom. He talks about his own journey, a pilgrimage to the great monasteries of what is now Afghanistan and India, a quest for knowledge and enlightenment. These words, he says, carried across these same deserts and mountains, have the power to free the mind from suffering. Listening to him, it's clear that the Silk Road is a conduit for faith as much as for commerce. These are the whispered stories of the traders, the real currency of the night. They share tales of jinn, desert spirits that can lead a man astray with phantom lights or by calling his name in the voice of a loved one. Marco Polo himself would later write about hearing the sounds of phantom armies on the march in these desolate places, the clash of unseen steel and the drumming of spectral hooves. They also share intensely practical knowledge: which oases have potable water and which are brackish, which tribal leaders demand a hefty toll for safe passage, and which ones offer protection and hospitality. This invisible network of information, updated with every caravan encounter, is as vital as the water in their flasks. One evening, I watch Roshan, the caravan master, in his nightly ritual. He moves away from the boisterous fires to a quieter spot, facing a small, flickering oil lamp he has placed on a rock. Many Sogdians were Zoroastrians, followers of one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, a faith that sees the entire universe as an epic struggle between light and dark, good and evil. He begins to recite his prayers in the ancient guttural Avestan language. He doesn't pray to the fire. He faces it as a symbol of Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom, the eternal source of all light and goodness. Watching him silhouetted against the vast, dark emptiness, I realize this isn't just a religious duty. It is his anchor. It is how he centers himself, how he finds his bearings in a world of profound uncertainty before facing another day of trials. It is a ritual that connects him to generations of ancestors who walked these same sands, guided by the same stars, praying before the same symbolic flame. The nights aren't always so peaceful. One evening, a sandstorm hits us with terrifying and abrupt speed. It begins as a low moan on the horizon, a dark wall of sand that blots out the stars. Within minutes, the wind howls like a banshee, and the air turns into a blinding, stinging, suffocating chaos. The world dissolves into a brownout of roaring wind and sand that gets into your eyes, your mouth, your very soul. All you can do is hunker down, wrap your face in cloth, and press against the warm, solid body of a camel, praying it doesn't bolt. The world simply disappears into the roar. It's a powerful, humbling reminder of how utterly fragile and insignificant we are in the face of nature's raw power. When it finally passes, hours later, the world feels scoured clean, reborn under a sky of impossible diamond-hard clarity. The dunes themselves have shifted, their shapes altered overnight. We emerge, shaking the fine sand from our cloaks and our souls, and simply continue. A shared ordeal like that forges a bond of silent understanding, a mutual respect that no one needs to talk about. After weeks in the open desert, a routine of sand and stars, something new appears on the horizon. At first, it's just a dark, low smudge, a slight irregularity against the endless brown. Then, as we plod closer over several hours, that smudge resolves into the solid, reassuring geometry of towering stone walls. It's a caravanserai, one of the great roadside inns that were the arteries and lifeblood of the Silk Road, spaced roughly a day's journey apart, about 30 to 40 kilometers. These fortified sanctuaries were more than just rest stops. They were micro-cities, fortified markets, and bubbling cultural melting pots. To a weary traveler, exhausted by the elements and the constant vigilance, the sight of one was everything. It meant safety from bandits, shelter from the wind, hot food, and, most importantly, fresh water. Passing through the massive arched gateway is like entering another universe. The profound, empty quiet of the desert gives way to the organized chaos of a bustling, miniature city. The heart of the structure is a huge central courtyard, open to the sky with a well or a cistern at its center. All around this courtyard run shaded walkways and arcades, behind which are dozens of small, cell-like chambers for lodging and niches for storing goods. The air is thick with a dizzying, overwhelming mix of smells. The sharp tang of exotic spices, the pervasive odor of animal dung, the smoke of countless cooking fires, the sweat of unwashed bodies, and the faint, sweet scent of expensive perfume. And the sounds a cacophony of human activity. Men are haggling loudly in a dozen languages, their voices rising and falling in the timeless drama of commerce. The clang of a blacksmith's hammer on an anvil rings out from a corner forge, repairing a broken tool. Donkeys bray, camels complain, and from a small mosque tucked into one corner, the call to prayer echoes across the courtyard, a moment of spiritual order amidst the worldly chaos. Here, in this temporary haven, our caravan dissolves into the larger crowd, its distinct identity melting away. I see Farid, the Persian merchant, carefully unpacking his precious porcelain, his stall instantly drawing a crowd of curious onlookers and potential buyers. The Buddhist monk has found a quiet corner where other saffron-robed monks are gathered, their heads bowed together in soft-spoken conversation, sharing news of monasteries and masters. And Rashan is already deep in conversation with another Sogdian merchant, their rapid-fire talk a seamless blend of commodity prices, political news from distant courts, news of shifting alliances, and the vital gossip that keeps their vast trading network alive and responsive. In a caravanserai, for a small fee, a traveler could find everything necessary to rest and refit. There were veterinarians for the sick or injured animals, and doctors who practiced a blend of Greek, Indian, and Chinese medicine for the human travelers. There were barbers, cobblers, weavers, and money changers. But the real world-changing exchange happened not in the market stalls, but over shared meals of bread and stew in the communal areas. This is where stories became the most valuable currency. A merchant just arrived from Samarkand might share news of a political shift or the death of a ruler that could make or lose a fortune for those heading in that direction. A traveler coming from Damascus might describe the wonders of the great mosque, its mosaics shimmering like captured jewels, inspiring new artistic motifs. A Nestorian Christian priest from Persia could debate theology with a Buddhist scholar from Turpan, finding unexpected common ground. And that's when it hit me with the force of a revelation. The Silk Road wasn't really a road of silk. That was just the brand name. It was a road of people. The goods, the silk, the spices, the glass, they were just the excuse, the catalyst for the far more important human interaction. The connections forged in dusty, noisy, vibrant places like this were what really held the world together. I watch a Chinese trader patiently showing a group of curious Turkic nomads how his abacus works, its beads clicking faster than the eye can follow. I see an Armenian merchant and an Arab scholar bent over a shared star chart, debating fine points of navigation. In these small, unrecorded moments, I see history being woven, not by kings in their palaces or generals on the battlefield, but by everyday people in the chaotic, dusty courtyard of a desert inn. I spend the night in a small, windowless stone room. The thick walls shut out the noise of the courtyard, creating a pocket of deep, profound peace. Lying on my mat, I can still feel the gentle, swaying motion of the camel, a phantom rhythm imprinted on my body. Looking out the doorway, I see the same stars I saw in the desert, but now they're framed by the man-made archway. It's a powerful symbol. Humanity carving out a space for itself in the vast, intimidating wilderness, creating points of light, connection, and community in the great, lonely darkness. This caravanserai isn't just a building. It's a monument to our species' most fundamental and relentless desire to connect, to trade, to learn, and to share. It's the living, breathing, beating heart of the Silk Road, leaving the sanctuary. Of the caravanserai behind, the journey continues. But something in me has shifted. I no longer see the desert as just a monotonous, dangerous obstacle, but as the necessary space between points of light, the scattered campfires, the fortified inns, and the legendary walled cities. Our destination, the high point of this whole leg of the journey, is one of those legendary cities, Samarkand. For centuries, its very name was a whisper, a legend in the West, a promise of impossible beauty and fabulous wealth. The pearl of the East. The landscape begins to change long before we see the city itself. First, you smell it on the wind. Scent of damp earth and living things, a fragrance so rich and welcome after the sterile dust of the desert. Then you see the green, a verdant stain spreading out from the city walls, lush orchards of apricots and peaches, vast fields of cotton, and carefully tended mulberry groves, the foundation of the silk industry. Then you see the walls, massive, earthen ramparts that have stood for centuries, a testament to the city's endurance through cycles of conquest and renewal, from Alexander the Great to the devastating hordes of Genghis Khan. And finally, rising above them, you see the domes, glittering in the harsh Central Asian sun, tiled in a celestial palette of turquoise, lapis lazuli, and gold. The domes and minarets of Samarkand look like they're challenging the sky itself. It's a shocking, impossible splash of color in the middle of all this brown earth. Entering the city gates is a full-on assault on the senses. The quiet, rhythmic pace of the caravan is shattered by a vibrant, chaotic river of people. The narrow streets are a kaleidoscope of faces from every corner of the known world. Fair-haired Sogdians with their distinctive beards, turbaned Persians, arguing passionately, dark-skinned traders from the Indian subcontinent, Han Chinese officials in their fine silk robes, and Turkic warriors with high cheekbones and watchful eyes. The air is a dizzying symphony of smells, piles of fragrant spices, heady incense from the temples, the metallic tang of blood from the butcher stalls, and the ever-present, overwhelming scent of thousands of people and their animals living in close quarters. Every corner, every alleyway is pulsing with life. This isn't just a stop on the road. It's a destination. It's one of the great melting pots of the ancient world, made the glorious capital of a vast empire by the conqueror Timur, or Tamerlan. Just a few generations before this moment, I follow Rishan through the throng to the Registan, the great public square. The name means sandy place, a humble origin for what is now the magnificent heart of the Timurid Renaissance. Here, surrounded by three majestic, monumental madrasas Islamic colleges, The Silk Road reaches its grand climax. This is the global marketplace. Piles of silk shimmer in every color imaginable. Mountains of spices are heaped on canvas tarps nutmeg. Cloves, pepper, their combined scent so strong it makes your eyes water. There are exquisite Persian carpets, their intricate patterns telling stories of paradise. Furs from the cold northern forests, spirited horses from the Fergana Valley, and precious stones lapis from Afghanistan, rubies from India, jade from Khotan. But the true climax of my journey happens not in the magnificent, chaotic market, but in a quiet, dusty workshop just off the square. Rashan, seeing the wonder in my eyes, leads me to the home of a master tile maker. Inside, the air is cool and smells of damp clay and the sharp tang of chemical minerals. The artisan, an old man with hands permanently stained by the pigments. Of his work is bent over a single large tile. His concentration absolute dot, he sees our interest, and with a quiet pride, begins to show us how the magic is done. He explains how raw minerals are painstakingly ground into fine powders, cobalt for the deep celestial blues, copper for the vibrant greens, manganese for the purples and blacks. He shows us his technique, known as cuerda or dry cord. He first draws the intricate geometric or calligraphic design onto the raw clay tile. Then, he painstakingly traces these lines with a greasy substance mixed with manganese, which creates a thin, black barrier. Then, like filling in a coloring book, he applies the different colored glazes into the sections. It is work that requires a surgeon's steady hand, a mathematician's mind for geometric patterns, and an artist's soul. Then he leads us to his kiln, a hulking brick and clay structure at the back of his workshop. Tonight, he tells us, is the final, most critical firing. As darkness falls over Samarkand, he begins a ritual that feels as sacred as any religious ceremony. It's a quiet, deliberate communion with his craft. He carefully places the painted tiles into the kiln, seals the door with clay, and lights the fire. He explains that he will stay with it all night, feeding it wood, listening to its roar, judging the temperature not with any instrument, but by the color of the flames visible through a small peephole, from a dull red to a brilliant white-hot intensity. He allows us to watch. For hours, we sit in the flickering, primal light of the fire. There's an incredible intensity to it. This is alchemy. This is transformation. This is the moment where dull earth and powdered rock are transmuted into transcendent, eternal beauty. And in that moment, watching that fire, I finally understood. The true magic of the Silk Road isn't the stuff they carry, but the knowledge that creates it. The closely guarded secrets of the silk farmer, the glassblower, the papermaker, and this tile artisan. It's the uniquely human ability to take the raw materials of the earth, and with immense skill, patience, and a little bit of fire-born alchemy, create wonder dot as the first faint hint of dawn streaks the sky. He decides it is done. The fire is allowed to die down. It will be many hours before the kiln is cool enough to open, but a new piece of Samarkand's impossible beauty has just been forged in the night. Witnessing that secret act of creation was the real prize of the journey. I didn't just see the products of this world. For a moment, I saw the soul of its craftsmanship. The first rays of sunlight spill into the workshop as the fire dies down, and the dust of the kiln is left to settle. The city is stirring, the morning pulse of Samarkand, slowly unfolding before me. There's something sacred in the first moments of the day, a quiet transformation that takes place in the heart of this city, just as the artisan has transformed clay into art. The city itself breathes life into the once silent streets. The air is filled with a low hum of activity. It is the lifeblood of Samarkand, beating in harmony with the rise of the sun dot as Rashan leads me through the winding streets of the city. The landscape shifts from the quiet stillness of the workshop to the vibrant energy of the marketplace. We pass by majestic buildings of mosaic and intricate tilework architectural marvels that gleam under the early sunlight, their colors vivid and alive. The paths are bustling with the sounds of daily life. Merchants continue to haggle over goods, spices, and fine textiles, their calls echoing through the narrow lanes. Children laugh and run past us, their faces bright with curiosity and joy. The city, in all its grandeur, seems to live in the moment, surrounded by its rich history, its grandeur, its secrets. Ration stops to speak with a seller of rare fruits, offering me a slice of something unfamiliar, a sweet, succulent melon. The taste is unlike anything I've experienced before. The flesh of the melon so rich and refreshing it almost feels like the first taste of something truly exotic. The fruit is a symbol of the city itself, lush, overflowing with life, and offering a taste of a world beyond the desert's harshness. Samarkand is, after all, a crossroads of cultures, an intersection where East and West have met for centuries. Walk further into the heart of the city, passing by beautiful fountains, with a sound of water splashing against. Stone is a welcome respite from the heat that will soon settle over the land. These fountains, like the many elements of this city, have a story to tell. Their water, flowing so freely, mirrors the flow of people, goods, and ideas that have passed through this place for centuries. They are symbols of Samarkand's deep connection to the land, where every drop is a testament to the flow of culture and commerce dotting the center of the city. The Registan Square opens up before us like a grand stage, its 3 madrasas standing, tall, their intricate geometric patterns inviting the eye to trace their designs. They tell stories through their vibrant, tile-covered surfaces, with motifs of nature, stars, and celestial patterns. It is here that travelers and traders from all corners of the earth come to meet and exchange not just goods but stories, philosophies, and knowledge. I am struck by the beauty of it all, the symmetry of the madrasas, the quiet wisdom in their design. Here, in this place of learning, we find something even more valuable than the wealth of goods that pass through this city. We find the wisdom of the ancients, a wealth of knowledge passed down through generations. For those who come here, it is not just the riches of silk and spices that they seek. It is the exchange of wisdom that will forever shape the future of their worlds. And yet, for all the grandeur of the buildings, the real treasures of Samarkand are not contained in the stone or in the mosaics. The true jewels of the city lie in the people, their warmth, their hospitality, and their unspoken connection to this city, a city that, despite its beauty, remains grounded in the simple act of human exchange. Whether through trade, story, or art, it is the people who breathe life into Samarkand's walls. As the sun climbs higher, casting long shadows along the streets, we leave the bustling marketplace behind and head toward the quiet of the gardens. Samarkand, though pulsing with energy and color, also has its quieter spaces, its sanctuaries, for reflection, for contemplation. We pass by the lush gardens where the soft chirping of birds fills the air, and the fragrance of roses and jasmine permeates the atmosphere. This is a place where the noise of the world fades away, where the only thing that matters is the sound of your own breath and the gentle rustling of the trees in the breeze. It is here, in the tranquility of these gardens, that I realize the true power of this city. It is not just its monuments, its riches, or even its role as a crossroads of cultures that gives Samarkand its strength. It is the quiet influence it has had on the world, an influence that has shaped the course of history in ways both seen and unseen. The scholars, the poets, the philosophers who once walked these streets, who once whispered their ideas in the cool shade of these gardens, have left an indelible mark on the world. The legacy of Samarkand is one of knowledge, of connection, and of the quiet power that comes from the exchange of ideas. As the day wears on, I find myself drawn to the city's great historical library, a place of learning that has stood the test of time. Here, In the cool, dim light, the written word is preserved, just as it was centuries ago. The manuscripts, carefully bound and stored, are treasures in their own right. They are the stories, the discoveries, and the philosophies that have shaped the civilizations of the past and continue to influence the world today. In these libraries, the words of great minds echo through the corridors. Thinkers like Avicenna, whose medical treatises were studied in both the East and the West, and Al-Khwarizmi, whose work laid the foundation for algebra. These names, familiar to anyone with a basic understanding of history, are more than just figures in textbooks. They are reminders of the quiet, enduring legacy of Samarkand, a city that, for all its opulence and grandeur, has always been a place of learning, of discovery, and of the quiet passing of knowledge from one generation to the next. And as the day draws to a close, the golden light of the setting sun bathes the city in a soft glow. The streets begin to quiet once more as merchants close their stalls and the hum of the marketplace fades into the distance. The evening call to prayer rings out from the minarets, and the city, for all its history and grandeur, settles into a peaceful rhythm. As the night approaches, the temperature begins to cool, and the city seems to slow. The busy streets of Samarkand now take on a different character. The once bustling lanes are now softened by the golden hues of lantern light, and the sounds of the day, the calls of merchants, and the hum of conversation fade into a hushed reverence. There is a certain stillness that takes over, a kind of timeless quality that seeps into the bones of the city. In these moments, Samarkand feels more like a dream than a place like a vision from the past that refuses to fade. This is a city whose soul has been woven from the threads of many peoples, ideas, and cultures, each leaving behind a part of itself in the walls, the streets, and the air. From the Persian merchants who brought their goods and wisdom, to the Chinese scholars and their advancements in papermaking, to the Roman traders who carried the wealth of the West, each civilization that has passed through these gates has left its mark, contributing to the rich, vibrant tapestry of Samarkand's legacy. The Silk Road, at its heart, was more than just a route for the transport of goods. It was a conduit for the movement of ideas, technologies, and culture. It was a bridge between worlds, between East and West, between the ancient and the modern, between the practical and the spiritual. It was not just the exchange of physical commodities that shaped the world, but the exchange of knowledge, the passing of stories, the sharing of beliefs, and the blending of traditions. It is easy to see how the Silk Road was once viewed as the lifeblood of the world. It was the vein through which the pulse of civilization flowed. As I stand in the cool evening air, I can almost hear the footsteps of those who walked this road centuries ago, the traders, the scholars, the pilgrims, and the wanderers, each of them a small part of a much larger story. They were the ones who made this journey possible, who carried with them not only goods, but the very essence of human experience. The lanterns that line the streets tonight, though much more modern than the ancient ones that once guided caravans through the desert, still carry the same symbolism. They remind us of the light that shines in the darkness, of the knowledge and wisdom passed down through generations. They are the physical embodiment of the Silk Road's true legacy, the light that connects us all, no matter where we are from, no matter how far we have traveled. As I reflect on the journey that has taken me through deserts, cities, and cultures, I realize that the true magic of the Silk Road lies not in the goods it carried, but in the people it brought together. It was the shared human experience, the stories told around campfires, the exchange of knowledge between scholars, the trade of ideas and philosophies that made the Silk Road a living, breathing entity. Here, in Samarkand, surrounded by the echoes of history, I feel a deep sense of connection. The journey has not just been a physical one, but a spiritual and intellectual one. The path I've walked is no different from the paths that those who came before me walked. The road of the Silk Road is one of human endeavor, of persistence, of curiosity, and of connection. And as I look up at the stars above, I realize that the journey is far from over. Asterisk, I find myself once again standing at the edge of the city, the walls of Samarkand now a silhouette against the darkening sky. The desert stretches out before me, a vast expanse of sand and stone, the very same desert that has witnessed countless journeys, countless stories, and countless souls passing through its endless dunes. I pause, taking in the quiet beauty of the desert at night. The wind has died down, and the air is crisp, almost sacred in its stillness. The only sound is the occasional rustling of the sand, as if the desert itself is whispering secrets to those willing to listen. In the distance, the glow of a caravan lantern flickers, a small speck of light in the darkness. The caravan, like the one I traveled with weeks ago, continues its journey across the endless sands, carrying with it not just goods, but the stories of its travelers, the legacy of the Silk Road itself. As I watch the lantern glow fade into the horizon, I am reminded of the enduring spirit of this journey, the quiet, persistent forward motion of life. It is a reminder that the Silk Road was not just a path of commerce, but a path of wisdom. It was a path that carried not just the riches of empires, but the knowledge that made those empires great. It carried the teachings of the Buddha, the discoveries of scientists and philosophers, the art of the finest craftsmen. The road was not a mere connection between East and West. It was a bridge that spanned the centuries, carrying with it the accumulated wisdom of the human experience. The desert is vast, and the stars above are a constant presence, silent witnesses to all that has passed before. Yet in the stillness of this night, there is a sense of peace, a quiet understanding that all the journeys, all the stories, all the paths we take are part of something much larger. The Silk Road may have been a physical path, but it was also a spiritual and intellectual journey that transcended time and place. It is a journey that continues, even now, in the stories we share and the connections we make. As I stand there, watching the stars above and listening to the whispers of the desert, I realize that the road I have traveled has led me not just through the landscape of the ancient world, but through the very heart of humanity itself. The true Silk Road is not a series of trade routes, but a shared human experience, an endless journey of discovery, connection, and understanding. Asterisk, the desert, vast and seemingly infinite, holds a kind of quiet power. To journey through it is to face the raw forces of nature, to test one's limits and resilience. And as I stand at its edge, watching the last of the caravan disappear into the horizon, I realize that the true essence of the Silk Road isn't just the trade of material goods or the vibrant exchange of cultures. It's the enduring spirit of the travelers who ventured into this endless stretch of sand, each carrying their dreams, hopes, and stories. As the cold night air wraps itself around me, the desert silence seems even more profound. It's a silence that isn't empty, but full of the echoes of countless footsteps, the memories of those who have crossed this land before. In the quiet, I can almost hear the creak of the camel's saddle, the soft whisper of fabric against skin as travelers adjust their cloaks, and the low murmur of voices that would have filled the air during the long, solitary nights of the desert. But the silence is not oppressive. It's the kind of silence that invites introspection and contemplation. In the stillness of the desert, there's space to reflect on the journey, the moments of hardship, the fleeting encounters with strangers, and the quiet joys of discovery. The desert teaches you to endure. It teaches you that patience is a virtue, and that even in the harshest of conditions, there is beauty to be found. Looking out over the sand dunes, I think of the many travelers who have passed through this land over the centuries, the merchants, the pilgrims, the wanderers. They have all walked this same path, though their reasons may have been different. Some came seeking fortune, others knowledge or spiritual enlightenment. But all of them were connected by the same thread, a desire to journey into the unknown, to seek something beyond the horizon. I think of the Sogdian merchants who, like Rishin, traveled this road time and time again, bringing not just goods but ideas, bridging cultures with every stop along the way. They were the lifeblood of the Silk Road, quietly weaving together the tapestry of human history. Theirs was a journey of resilience, of carrying the knowledge of one civilization and delivering it to another, all while navigating the harshest of landscapes. For the travelers of the Silk Road, the desert was both a challenge and a teacher. It demanded endurance, adaptability, and a deep respect for the elements. But it also gave something in return, a profound sense of connection to the world around you. In the vast emptiness of the desert, you come to understand the fragile beauty of life. You learn to appreciate the simple things, the taste of water, the warmth of a fire, the companionship of those who walk beside you. The caravan master, Rashan, once told me that the journey is as much about the space between the destinations as it is about the destinations themselves. It's about what you experience, learn, and share along the way. The journey shapes you in ways you cannot predict, opening your eyes to the vastness of the world and the depth of human connection. And this, I realize, is the true spirit of the Silk Road. The desert stretches endlessly before me, but as I watch the shifting sands, I realize that nothing here ever stays the same. The winds constantly reshape the dunes, creating new patterns, new landscapes. The very earth beneath my feet is in a state of constant motion, a reminder that nothing in this world is ever truly still. And yet, the rhythm of the journey endures. Every step taken along the Silk Road, whether on camelback or on foot, is a step toward understanding. Each grain of sand beneath our feet is a fragment of a much larger story, one that stretches back millennia. The merchants, the scholars, the pilgrims, they were all part of this story, part of a great human endeavor to bridge the distance between cultures, to share knowledge and ideas, and to create something lasting. As the caravan begins to move. Again, the camels slowly rising from the ground with their soft groans. I feel a quiet sense of awe. The rhythm of their movement is hypnotic, like the slow beat of a drum, a pulse that has carried humanity forward for generations. The caravan, a small microcosm of the greater world, is once again in motion. It is a reminder that, despite the challenges, the journey never truly ends. The road continues, stretching out into the unknown, just as it has for countless generations. In this moment, I realized that the Silk Road was not just a trade route. It was a journey of human connection, one that transcended borders, languages, and cultures. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of movement, of exchange, and of the enduring spirit of those who walked its path. As we continue our journey, I can't help but reflect on the ways in which the Silk Road has shaped the world we live in today. The threads that once connected distant civilizations still weave their way through the fabric of our modern world. The knowledge, the culture, the art, they live on, passed down through generations, carried by those who continue to walk the road in their own way and in their own time. Section 11. The silent echoes, looking back at the road behind. As the night deepens, the desert settles into a peaceful silence once more. The wind is still. The stars shine with a brilliance that is almost overwhelming. It is a vast, endless sky, and beneath it, the world feels both immense and small. In the quiet, I find myself looking back, reflecting on the road we have traveled. The journey that began in the bustling streets of Samarkand led us through the vast and unforgiving desert, and now it feels as if it has come full circle. The caravan moves on, but the memories of the places, the people, and the stories we have encountered remain, woven into the fabric of our journey. Each stop along the way, each encounter, has left its mark. The exchange of knowledge, the sharing of stories, The passing of goods, all of these things have created something far greater than the sum of their parts. Dot in the distance. A faint outline of another caravan appears on the horizon. Another journey in progress. And though I am no longer part of the caravan that I once traveled with, I know that this road continues, stretching far beyond what I can see. The people who walk it now will one day carry their stories forward, just as those before them did. The Silk Road, with all its beauty and hardship, will continue to inspire generations to come. Dot, as I watch the last of the lanterns flicker and fade into the night, I realize that the true beauty of this journey isn't just in the places we've seen or the things we've discovered, but in the quiet, unspoken connections we've made along the way. It is these connections, these shared experiences, that carry the spirit of the Silk Road forward into the future. And as I finally close my eyes, the sounds of the desert, the distant echo of the caravan, and the whisper of the wind all fade into a peaceful, timeless silence. The journey, for now, is over, but the road continues, and I will carry its spirit with me wherever I go. The caravan moves on, its pace steady, rhythmic, and unyielding. As I watch it slowly disappear into the endless stretch of sand, I feel an overwhelming sense of peace. The world, vast and full of stories, continues to turn each of us a fleeting moment in the eternal march of time. The desert, with all its harshness and beauty, has a way of putting everything into perspective. But even here, in the stillness, I can feel the heartbeat of the Silk Road beneath my feet. It pulses through the earth, carried in the footsteps of the travelers, the merchants, the artisans, and the scholars who have walked these paths before. The path has always been there, and it always will be, a thread woven through the fabric of history, uniting us all, no matter where we are from or where we are going. Dot, as the night deepens further, I begin to feel the weight of the journey in my bones, the traveler's weariness that lingers in the body, but also the quiet satisfaction of having walked through a piece of history, of having witnessed the beauty of a world that has long passed, but whose spirit endures. There is something incredibly humbling about standing at the crossroads of so many lives, so many civilizations. The Silk Road was never just a collection of routes. It was the veins and arteries of the world itself, carrying not just goods, but the lifeblood of human culture, knowledge, and progress. I think of the great cities that lay ahead, cities like Baghdad, Bukhara, and Xi'an, each one a beacon of light in the vast expanse of the world. Samarkand, the Pearl of the East, is just one of many places that have thrived because of this connection. It was a city built on trade, but more than that, it was a city built on the exchange of ideas, of art, of beliefs. A city where cultures met, where the old world and the new world came together, each shaping the other. Dot, and as I stand there in the desert, beneath the endless expanse of stars, I feel a sense of awe at how far we've come, how much we've learned, and how much more there is still to discover. The Silk Road was not just a historical relic. It was a living, breathing entity that connected the past with the present. And it is still alive today, in every story shared, in every discovery made, and in every connection formed across the Yasset world. The fire at the heart of the camp slowly begins to fade, its embers glowing softly in the night. The wind picks up, carrying with it the whispers of the past. And as I sit by the warmth of the dying flame, I am reminded of the unbroken circle of the Silk Road. It began with the first footsteps taken by traders and explorers, each one seeking something beyond the horizon. And now, all these centuries later, we still walk those same paths, drawn by the same desire to understand, to connect, to learn. The caravan continues, and with it, the story of the Silk Road continues to unfold. It's no longer a road traveled only by merchants and travelers, but by ideas, technologies, and cultures. The legacy of the Silk Road lives on in the connections we make every day, in the way we share knowledge, in the way we trade, and in the way we learn from each other. The world may be smaller now, connected by modern technologies, but the spirit of the Silk Road remains the same. It's in the friendships forged across borders, in the ideas that flow freely between nations, and in the ongoing exchange of cultures that continues to shape our global community. As I reflect on the journey, I realize that it is not just the roads and cities that have shaped this world, but the people who have walked them. The merchants, the artisans, the scholars, and the pilgrims, they have all played their part in creating a world that is connected, diverse, and ever-changing. The Silk Road, in its many forms, has always been about human connection, and it will continue to be so long after the caravans have disappeared into the dust of history. I stand, once more, looking out into the vast, starlit desert, and I feel the pull of that connection. The journey continues, and with each step, each story shared, each new discovery, the Silk Road lives on, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. As the night deepens and the caravan's light flickers like a tiny star on the horizon, I find myself standing in the silence of the desert once again. The world around me seems to hold its breath, and for a moment it feels as though time itself has stopped. The desert, vast and unchanging, has witnessed centuries of human endeavor, and it will continue to witness more long after we are gone. But for now, in this moment, I feel connected to all those who have walked this path before me. I can feel their presence in the soft wind that sweeps through the dunes, in the stars above, and in the quiet stillness of the night. The journey that began so long ago, the journey of the Silk Road, continues in the hearts of those who seek to understand, to connect, and to share. It is a journey that transcends time, a journey that will never truly end. With one last glance at the horizon, I turn back to the campfire, its warmth now a gentle glow in the cool desert night. The journey, for now, has come to an end. But the story, like the Silk Road itself, will continue, carried forward by the travelers who follow in our footsteps. The flame flickers, and the stars above continue to shine, their light a reminder that, no matter where we go, we are all part of the same journey. And so, with a quiet sigh, I allow myself to rest, knowing that the road, in its many forms, will always be there, waiting to be walked again. The morning light, soft and golden, breaks over the horizon once again. The desert is awakening, its vast stretches slowly revealing their shape under the first light of the day. The camels stir, their deep groans breaking the quiet, their steady movement a reminder that this journey, this eternal movement, is far from over. The road, though invisible to the untrained eye, stretches infinitely into the distance, its threads woven into the very fabric of time itself. I rise from where I had rested, the warmth of the embers still lingering on my skin, and glance at the quiet desert around me. The endless sands, which have witnessed so much trade, exploration, discovery, seem unchanged, as if nothing had ever passed over them. Yet I know that everything has been shaped by the countless steps taken upon them. In many ways, the desert is a reflection of the Silk Road itself. Both are ever-changing and timeless at once. The road has been built upon by travelers, merchants, wanderers, and even invaders. But its essence, its heartbeat, remains constant. The path is not merely the physical road. It is the journey itself, the quest for connection, the exchange of knowledge and goods, the meeting of cultures that has spanned continents and centuries. It's a flow, like the river that runs through the heart of civilization, ever moving, ever bringing people together, and forever shaping the world. As I stand here, the wind picks up, swirling the sands around me, and I am reminded of the transient nature of all things. Everything is in motion, yet everything leaves its mark. The travelers of the past have left their marks, both physical and spiritual, and these traces remain, like invisible threads, binding the past to the present and stretching forward into the future. The road before me is clear, but it is not a road I need to walk alone. I realize that we are all part of this journey, whether we are walking the actual paths of the Silk Road or carrying its spirit within us. We all carry the stories of those who came before us, the wisdom passed down through generations, and the silent connections forged by every step taken along the way. The wind continues to stir the sand, and the desert air, once scorching, now carries a coolness that reminds me of the serenity that can only be found in the vast openness of the desert. The journey, in many ways, mirrors our own path in life. It is not about the destination, but the experience, the stories, the connections we make along the way. The Silk Road, though a tangible route that connected the East and West, was also an intangible journey of cultural exchange, of shared ideas, philosophies, and traditions. It was a network that transcended mere trade. It was the essence of human experience, moving through time, creating bonds that have endured for centuries. I take a deep breath, inhaling the crisp desert air, and look around one last time. The city of Samarkand, once a bustling center of commerce and culture, is now a distant memory. But its legacy lives on in every trade route, in every conversation between cultures, in every spark of new knowledge. It is a place that will never be forgotten, for it lives on in the hearts of those who continue to walk the road it helped shape out as the sun rises higher in the sky. I realize that the spirit of the Silk Road will continue to endure, not as a single path in the sand, but as a network of human connections spread across the world, connecting us all. It's a reminder that no matter how far we travel, no matter where we come from, we are all bound together by the same threads, the threads of history, culture, and shared experience. The caravan moves on, and I too must continue. There is always another road to walk, another story to tell, and another step to take. The journey of the Silk Road is not a story of the past. It is a living, breathing entity that continues to shape the world today. And as long as we continue to walk, to share, and to connect, the spirit of that great road will never fade. As the caravan begins to pull away, the familiar rhythm of the camel's footsteps resuming their gentle sway, I find myself reflecting on what this journey has taught me. It was never just about the cities we visited, the goods we traded, or the history we uncovered. It was about the power of human connection, of how we, as individuals, are all part of something much larger than ourselves. The Silk Road was a pathway for ideas, a bridge between distant lands, a space where knowledge, art, culture, and commerce all converged. It was a living symbol of what happens when people come together to share, learn, and grow. What we often forget is that it wasn't just physical goods that traveled along this road. It was the movement of thought, the exchange of belief systems, the flow of creativity. From the scrolls carried across the desert to the intricate art that decorated the walls of Samarkand's madrasas, every step taken on that road, every conversation shared under the moonlit sky, has left behind a trail of wisdom that continues to guide us today. And so, the true gift of the Silk Road is not the material wealth it carried, but the intangible treasures of human connection that it created. It is the ability to listen, to learn, to share, and to understand. It is a reminder that, no matter the distance, no matter the language barriers or cultural divides, we are all connected in ways that transcend borders and time. As the last camel disappears into the horizon, the campfires slowly extinguishing in the early morning light, I carry with me the legacy of the journey, the quiet understanding that this road, though ancient, is still alive. And perhaps, in some way, we are all walking the Silk Road every day in our own lives. Asterisk. As the last echo of the caravan fades into the distance, and the desert stretches wide and empty before me, I realize something profound. The journey may have reached its end for now, but the Silk Road, in all its forms, never truly ends. It continues through the bonds we form, through the stories we share, through the paths we take, both literal and metaphorical. The path of the Silk Road, once forged by camel and foot, has evolved into a global web of connections, carrying ideas, cultures, and innovations across the world. But even as the world grows smaller with technology, the spirit of that ancient road, the spirit of human connection, of discovery, and of shared experience remains as vital as ever. The exchanges, the encounters, the struggles, and the triumphs of the past still ripple through time, influencing our present and shaping the future. We may no longer walk in the footsteps of ancient merchants and travelers, but we are still, in essence, walking the same road. The Silk Road was never just about the goods that passed along its route, but about the exchange of life itself. The things we carry, our stories, our ideas, our dreams, are as much a part of this great journey as any merchant's wares or precious cargo. And so, as the sun rises higher over the desert, casting its golden light on the sands, I understand that the true power of the Silk Road lies not in the places we visited or the things we've seen, but in the journey itself. It is in the connections we make, in the moments we share, and in the paths we choose to follow. The road ahead, like the one behind, is a never-ending journey. And just as it was for those who walked it before us, it is ours to travel. So as I take one final look at the horizon, I smile, knowing that the Silk Road, with all its stories and wisdom, will always be there, guiding us toward the next step. With each step we take, the road continues to unfold, and the journey never truly ends.